Good evening, everyone. Welcome back, future lawyers, to day 18 of our bar review. We are now 171 days away from the bar examinations. Today, we continue unpacking the general concepts of jurisdiction by looking at three vital doctrines that dictate how a court's power behaves over time and how courts interact with specialized agencies. Our guiding verse for today is Philippians chapter 1, verse 6. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. This perfectly embodies our first topic today, the doctrine of adherence of jurisdiction. In law, once a court validly begins its work by acquiring jurisdiction, it will carry the case all the way to completion, regardless of what happens next. But before we tackle these three doctrines, let us resolve the bar question I gave you back in day 15. Note that since day 14 was a rest day, our pending assignment is from day 15 regarding the doctrine of judicial stability. Here is the question we left hanging in day 15. The RTC of Manila levied a property to satisfy a judgment. Maria, an absolute stranger to the case, claimed ownership of the property and filed an injunction in the RTC of Quezon City to stop the Manila sheriff. Pedro argued this violates the doctrine of non-interference among co-equal courts. Is Pedro correct? Let us reveal the suggested answer using the Beer method. If you wrote this down, give yourself 4 points. First, the binary. No, Pedro is not correct. Second, the enabling law. Jurisprudence provides that the doctrine of non-interference or judicial stability does not apply when a third-party claimant is involved, as no person shall be prejudiced by a proceeding to which they are an absolute stranger. Third, the evaluation. Here, Maria is a third-party claimant who alleges absolute ownership over the levied property. Since she is an absolute stranger to the case between Pedro and Juan in the Manila RTC, she has the right to file a separate independent action before the Quezon City RTC to protect her property rights. And finally, the resolution. Thus, Pedro's argument that the Quezon City RTC cannot interfere is not correct. This perfectly captures the ultimate exception to the doctrine of judicial stability. Now, let us proceed to today's main topic. To properly digest these three distinct doctrines of jurisdiction, we will use our four-level analytical framework, the Beer syllabus. First, the big picture, placing these doctrines within the timeline of a case. Second, the essential pillar, where we define adherence of jurisdiction and residual jurisdiction. Third, the elemental principle, where we define primary jurisdiction and its intersection with administrative bodies. And lastly, the root level, looking at a specific Supreme Court ruling applying the rule of adherence. For our big picture, we must realize that jurisdiction is not a checklist you fulfill at the very beginning of a case. It governs the entire lifespan of the litigation. The three doctrines we are learning today answer three highly testable questions. First, what happens if Congress changes the jurisdiction of the court in the middle of a trial? Second, what powers does a judge retain after the losing party files an appeal? And third, when must a regular judge step aside and let a specialized agency handle the dispute? Moving down to our essential pillar, let us first tackle the doctrine of adherence of jurisdiction, also known as continuity of jurisdiction. Look at the image on your screen. When a court validly acquires jurisdiction over the case, It drops a massive unbreakable anchor. Once jurisdiction has attached, it cannot be ousted by subsequent happenings or events. Even if the Congress passes a new law the very next day transferring jurisdiction of your specific case to a different court, your current court retains jurisdiction until the case is completely finished. The only exceptions are if the new law expressly dictates retroactive application or if the new law is curative in character. Still, on our essential pillar, what happens when the trial is over and a party appeals? Generally, the trial court loses jurisdiction because the case is moving up. However, the law leaves behind a residue of power, known as residual jurisdiction. This applies during the brief window of time after the appeal is perfected, but before the physical records are actually shipped to the Court of Appeals. During this window, the trial court retains residual power to do five specific things. We can remember this by mnemonic twice. First, to issue protective orders, allow withdrawal of appeals, permit indigent appeals, approve compromises, and order execution pending appeal. Now, as we reach the elemental principle, the doctrine of primary jurisdiction. Look at the visual graph. A regular judge knows the law, but they do not know the intricacies of agricultural engineering, corporate securities, or complex environmental science. Therefore, if a controversy requires the expertise and specialized training of an administrative body, the judge must step aside. Relief must first be obtained from that specific administrative agency, like the DARAB for agrarian reform or the SEC for corporate fraud, before you can ever resort to the regular courts. Is primary jurisdiction absolute? No, there are several testable exceptions. You can bypass the administrative agency and go straight to court if the issue is a purely legal question because courts, not agencies, are the ultimate arbiters of the law. Second, when there is estoppel on the part of the party invoking it. Or third, when the administrative action is patently illegal or a nullity. Or you can also bypass if there is a threat of irreparable damage or if there is unreasonable delay by the agency. Or lastly, if there is a strong public interest involved. Before we proceed to our root level, let us hit the pause button. Close your eyes for a brief moment. Actively recall the visual anchors we just discussed. What does the heavy iron anchor represent? Yes, adherence of jurisdiction, meaning the court keeps the case until the end. What is the brief window of power of a court? What is the brief window of power a court has before records are transmitted to the Court of Appeals? Yes, residual jurisdiction. And finally, what does the judge yielding to the scientist represent? You're right, primary jurisdiction. Open your eyes. Excellent recall. Let us lock those concepts in. Let us bring this down to the root level. With the 2021 Supreme Court ruling on Energy Regulatory Commission versus Thermamobile Incorporated. In cases like this, litigants often try to derail a trial that is going badly for them by pointing out that a brand new law was just passed transferring jurisdiction of their type of dispute to a different agency. They file a motion to dismiss, claiming the current tribunal no longer has power. The Supreme Court strictly applies the doctrine of adherence of jurisdiction. The court ruled that once a tribunal validly acquires jurisdiction at the inception of the case, it retains it until final disposition. Subsequent legislation transferring jurisdiction does not act retroactively to oust the court of its anchor, unless the new law explicitly says so. To wrap up our discussion today, here is a highly possible bar question testing your mastery of the timeline of jurisdiction. Let us read it. In 2020, Peter filed a civil complaint against David for 350,000 before the RTC, which had jurisdiction at that time. In 2021, while the trial court was ongoing, Congress passed RA 11576 expanding the METC's jurisdiction to cover claims up to 2 million. Citing this law, David filed a motion to dismiss, arguing the RTC has been ousted of its jurisdiction. Question: should the RTC grant David's motion to dismiss? I will leave this question with you as your assignment. Apply the anchor, the doctrine of adherence of jurisdiction, that we have just discussed. Draft your best beer style answer, and we will reveal the suggested answer after 3 days. Before we officially end today's session, remember Philippians chapter 1 verse 6. He who began a good work will carry it on to completion. In remedial law, a court finishes the trial it validly starts. In your bar review, finish the hard work you have validly started today. Thank you for joining me on day 18. Keep up the momentum, and I will see you in our next session.